Well, hey there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to Day 2 of the Smite Challenger Circuit Playoffs. My name's Gormizer. Joining me once again on the desk is going to be Mifflin, and as you can see behind me, Elysium are going to be coming back in, playing up against Pandamonium here in the winner's semifinals that comes through. Mifflin had mentioned it earlier, but just to reiterate, $10,000 difference between winning this and not, right? Granted, you still have a chance to make it into the top 2 if you lose this, but if you win it, you're guaranteed that amount of money going into your pockets, and that feels pretty good, at least if you ask me. So I'm sure that they're both very ecstatic to be able to play that. Again, the winner of this one moves forward into the finals. Not only that money, guaranteed minimum for second place is $10,000 more than you get for third and fourth, but also a one-game advantage in the finals, which gives you, by the way, about double what you'd get in second. So you're getting even more money if you get first place. Really good for them. Maybe that's tomorrow talk. Right now, it is the chance to move forward again, keep yourself in an advantageous position, and both of these teams have looked really solid, Mifflin, to the point where they're 1-1, I believe, throughout the phase.
Yeah, both of these squads have been having a really good run throughout the European SCC, and they're looking to solidify that run here at the playoffs. But got to talk about the players on the field, right? And I feel like just a boxing announcer every single time I'm given the opportunity to run down this roster. For Elysium, we're talking about Terrorim, Adapting, Angry, Spudio, and Trixtank lining up this one. That is a star-studded roster that has competed at all levels of play for just about as long as all levels of play have existed. Maybe the biggest standout here being Adapt King out of the jungle, young Kenneth Ross, has been tearing up not only the SCC level, but was a huge menace at the SPL as well.
And, I mean, what a historied career, I guess, is the best way to describe it in one term. It's not enough to really do it justice. But the thing that's caught my eye about this team, granted, you watch it right now, we're in Game 2 highlights from yesterday. If you look at Game 3 highlights, it was kind of all adapting all day. I mean, everybody else got their hands on it. But the thing that stands out to me in this team is that it isn't just the adapting show.
Agreed.
Sometimes it can be, and you know what? That's fine. You want that out of your jungler, right? Like, sometimes you want them to just
Feels
pop
good.
off. But Angry, as well as Spudio, Terram, like the three, quote-unquote, not big names, the ones that haven't maybe made it all the way to the SBL or haven't made that same career history as what you've seen out of Trixtank and Adapting, still have phenomenal performances. I've even given credit to Angry, saying that if I was looking for a mid laner sometime soon in the SPL, he might be the guy I'd go to first because he's been playing so well. And we saw yesterday with that Yanis game how troublesome he can be.
Yeah, the caliber of play across the board from these guys is so incredibly strong. Yesterday, we got to see Spudio have to miss out on Game 1, got a little bit of a chance to rest out, came back into Game 2, and absolutely blew him out of the water. I mean, every single one of them is a threat. At the SCC level, you might as well compare these guys to the Jade Dragons insofar as level of play, because they are a penta threat on the board. I mean, every single one of them has the potential to win you a match.
And the way things have been going for this matchup, if you're wondering, over the history of it, it's 3 games to 2 games in favor of Elysium. They lost the first set 2-1 that they played against Pandamonium, won the second one 2-0. So the history trends a little more towards the guys in red here. But the question is what exactly the Cthulhu-esque logo that Pandamonium brings to the table, what they're going to be able to do. Because this is a team, as we saw yesterday, that will just run you over if you give them the chance.
Yeah, they love playing that momentum-based style. For those of you at home who aren't quite as familiar with this team, that is Kana coming at you out of the solo lane, Sarpei in the jungle, Joshi out of mid, Streak Up in the hunter role, and we had a little bit of fun at the support's expense yesterday, but Emilzi coming back to give us a treat at the competitive level in Smite. This is going to be a tough one and a good proving ground for him. I'm really keeping my eye on this set. This is one that I think could go the distance.
And this is a big change-up for them. Like, they had Preds prior to Emilzi, felt pretty good with Preds in the roster, but Emilzi, again, someone who has had a lot of success in their past, has had some fun on various teams. The team name that comes to my mind immediately was Cringe Crew, which is maybe not the one he wants to be remembered for, but that's the one that's in my brain, man, and I'm sorry about that. But I think this is, again, a good showcase for him. That being said, I want to say take game number 2 with a grain of salt, because look at that lineup. Look at the draft they got. I don't know that you're going to get to see something like that against Elysium. And so Pandamonium are going to have to bring their A-game on some other picks. They're not going to be able to get Gilgamesh, King Arthur, Tiamat, and Sobek all onto one team.
Yeah, almost just a war crime, right, to be able to get away with that one. But Look, man, if you're able to recognize those opportunities and find those fantastic drafts, power to them for being able to do so.
They present themselves, do it.
Yeah. If you can do it, guys, do it again. That's essentially all the notes we have for you on the desk as far as your drafting goes. But I have noticed in particular, Emilzy, as he's joined this team, has really elevated the level of play that Pandamonium is bringing. He's very decisive. You can see that the shot calling is coming through for him. The initiation in particular has been incredibly strong for him so far this weekend, and I want to see more of that from him.
Well, there's a lot, I think, of pressure here to perform if you're Pandamonium, mainly because Elysium, actually, I would maybe argue it the other way. They got a 2-0 over there. Elysium had to put a 3-game set.
Yes, sir.
They were pushed the distance. Granted, it was a sub. Snake Hunters played well. Whatever you want to throw out there, if you want to give them excuses, I'm sure there's plenty for them. But at the end of the day, one of these teams got here a little quicker, and that's what matters to them. The other thing that's going to be interesting to me is like just looking at the lineup once again. When you look at Pandamonium, for a while there, I said, yeah, like Joshi, Streak Up, they can have some good games occasionally. Sarpei has struggled notoriously against adapting. That's definitely going to be a big matchup. Bakana was always a consistent for them. Now you give a secondary front line that's going to be great for them. That's the best way to elevate anybody's level of play as the bands come through. Over on Pandamonium's side, Tiamat, Yanis, and Sol. Got to lift my laptop here. The Ymir, Osiris, and the Fafnir. In order to see that one, the first pick, this Chiron, second time today, didn't quite go so well last game. How do you feel about it?
Look, Chiron first pick is just going to be good, right? It's incredibly strong. We've only really seen it have one real bad matchup, and that's if the enemy team picks up Mercury out of the jungle. You don't really have a great way to deal with that ultimate, the Sonic Boom. But not many people are playing Mercury at a very high level, and Sanford Soccer is not going to be a menace here at the SCC level. He's too busy running in the SPL. So I think Chiron's just going to be a very consistent pick. But when you're talking about consistency, you cannot ignore exactly what Pandamonium got. Raijin and the Cucullin picked up. That is the root of consistency. Thunderclap in mid for early aggression. Yeah. Cucullin can be left alone on an island with that transformation as well. This is a very good core already that we're seeing from the Chaos team.
And this is just a personal thought, but when I think of Kana, I think of Cucullin. The two of them go hand in hand, but look, man, I was saying Pandamonium got the good draft yesterday. Look, Chiron, King Arthur, Sobek feels like a great top 3. Terra in the top 3 is a little curious to me when it comes down to it. I mean, we've seen her floating around and picked up in a lot of these cases, but for all intents and purposes right now, she is not the go-to ban when it comes to supports.
No, Terra is just something that I think the EU STC has really been having a good run with in scrims. You gotta imagine, right? That's how much emphasis we've seen from it this weekend, but not many other regions in the world are prioritizing Terra like they're doing it here. But she does have certain strengths that other gods don't. She has great counter-engage potential with the Earthen Fury. She can essentially lock down entire lanes with her third ability, consistent CC, and essentially a wall with her second ability as well. And she's got great survivability in her own right. Terra is a very consistent pick, but maybe she does not always reach those highs that some of these other supports can.
Well, Set Pele banned out by Elysium. It's the Scylla Merlin banned out over there by Pandamonium. Medusa locked in here. And admittedly, look, like you said, Terra's had a lot of great moments and she's been making good runs in Europe. This is a good draft on the side of Pandamonium, but Baba Yaga locked in right there. Now, this is one, Mifflin. Ignore Kamazots, who cares? Yeah, he's good. There you go. I gave it to you.
Does damage.
Baba Yaga is a pick that Angry has been going to a couple of times. This is not like the first time that it's been locked in. I'm not going to flip out because he's liked her. But it has been very hit or miss for this team. I guess game 1's the best time to try it, but, I mean, does she pack enough of a punch to really bring it to, the Raijin on the other side?
Look, man, I feel like every single time I have to break down Baba Yaga on the desk, it immediately goes to aggro, and everything I say is immediately devalued because aggro is a big Baba Yaga enthusiast, so I'm going to go ahead and make his points for him. He has got great damage output on this god, a fantastic ability to poke with the potions, as well as just that inconsistent ability shape, means that it's really hard to dodge out what Baba Yaga's doing. You don't know if she's tossing a giant 0 at you or if she's tossing a backwards L, and it makes it very hard to predict, as well as that ultimate is just a great consistent engage and disengage tool for your team. You can use it from a range to throw out no play zones on the ground. You can use it to peel people off of you as well. But you're right to say that we have not seen a great deal of consistency from anyone on this pick. Who's the premier Baba Yaga in the SPL? I'd probably say Hurrywind. I would say so. He doesn't go to this pick very much anymore. He very much likes it, but he realizes that it's very easy to shut down as well, especially if you want to take a peek at Pandemonium's draft. Nemesis, if Baba Yaga doesn't have ultimate available to her, jumps down, Nemesis is going to shut her down easily.
A lot of pressure on that Cauldron, a lot of pressure on the Angry here to make this performance happen. Can Pandemonium take down the top seed once again? Let's find out.
Thanks, guys. Me and Aggro here, me being BlazyBard on the casting desk, trying to break this one down for you. Elysium starting off with a really big grouping here towards the left-hand side. Aggro, we're going to see an early game invade?
I mean, anytime you've got Sobek, you've got kill potential. It just takes one person being out of position, but they don't see Streak Up, and he'd be the easy one to kill if they had their eyes on him. So it ends up not being very fruitful there for Elysium, but they get their wards down, and that's worth their time.
Well, there you go. Not quite what they wanted, but I'm sure that was just kind of if we get something, we get something. If not, it's not really going to affect them here. Everyone should be in the right place at the right time at the start. Aggro, how are you doing, man? It's been way too long since we've casted together.
Yeah, it's been a bit, but I'm doing well. Excited for this game because Pandemonium is the team that I think everyone is looking at as the second best team in Europe. Elysium, obviously, the top card with guys like Adapting and Trix on their side. And to have both Adapting and Trix Tank get some signature gods in Game 1 is pretty important, I think, for Elysium. But at the same time, this duo lane, this should be the best test for Elysium's duo lane they've faced. And clearly, Trix Tank, feeling it a little bit already, loses well over half his HP off of Emilze's Sunder.
A lot of healing coming out of this lane as well. Those Streak Up falling down really low. The body blocks from Emilze should be good. Trix Tank finishes it up after the training exercise. Kill number 1 goes the way of Elysium, quick and clean.
All right, maybe this duo lane isn't too much of a test for Elysium. I mean, look, how many times are Hunter players and supports going to be caught off guard by Chiron hitting level 2 first and dashing at you? I mean, it's the game plan every single game, and it's not like it was week 1 of the group stages or anything like that where Chiron was this new exciting pick. Like, Chiron's been the pick for weeks now, and you have to be ready for that. I don't know. I don't know how people are still getting caught by it at this level.
Well, Streak Up definitely was not quite ready for the amount of damage bursting out of that Chiron, and that's going to set, it's going to set Elysium up for a pretty, how to put this nicely, roided up early game. Chiron definitely not the kind of character you want to let get ahead of you, especially if you're on the receiving end, especially if you're playing this Medusa.
Medusa definitely not a pick that handles being behind particularly well. Her mobility is limited, is the word I'm going to use. I mean, it's a fairly long dash, but it's so easy to body block, and Chiron's damage is far longer than that dash, so certainly not an easy lane to survive in if you're Streak Up. And that's what I like quite a bit, what Trix Tank and Spudio are doing from this position. Don't let Streak Up get this XP for free. He dies to a pluck from this position, so don't let him step up and get the farm for free.
Now choosing to clear the wave so they can get a little bit more pressure. Trix wanting the Scorpion, but Spudio not quite on the same page just yet. They'll be able to pick that up nice and easily. Purple buffs have just spawned for both sides. Trix Tank decided to stay in lane while Spudio is actually getting this purple buff all by himself.
No reason to split in this position. Spudio can definitely take care of it, and if Trix can slow down the purple buff clear on the other side and maybe open up some sort of steal potential, that would be good. It's really the fact that Elysium just doesn't have any wards to know exactly where Sarpei is at this time that makes it pretty difficult for them to go for the purple buff invade. It looks free from the spectator position, but without guaranteed mid-priority, which you won't get with Baba Yaga versus Raijin, or explicit knowledge of where the jungler is, which they did not have, that's just too risky of an invade to take. So I like the patience from Elysium. You don't expand the lead as much as you would like, but you also don't throw the lead away with information that you don't have.
Sure, and talking about this mid matchup a little bit more, Aggro, what do you have to say about this Raijin Baba Yaga? I know Mifflin touched on what your points would be on the desk there, but I want to hear it from the man himself.
Yeah, I definitely am a Baba sympathizer. I think that she definitely doesn't see as much play as she deserves, but I think Pandamonium has a really good draft against it. Baba's not a character that I want to play against Raijin, who just has a better all-in than me through the first, 20 minutes of the game or so at the very least. pretty easy to just get jumped on and interrupted out of my dash whenever he gets aggressive.
Oh, that thought, Sarpei coming over here onto the right-hand side. Terra in some trouble. Up into the sky he goes, trying to find some damage onto Okana. Grabs some time for adapting to come in for the regank, and he might pick up Sarpei here, but a little bit of a misread is going to allow the Nemesis to walk out for free. 1 kill in favor of Pandamonium there. Going to be a big one to get onto Terra.
Making sure you get this Cullen ahead, and this Cullen King Arthur matchup we see so often at the SPL level, one that is oftentimes dictated by jungler presence through the early game. So I like Sarpei's decision to gank. I like his proactivity on the map. I think that a lot of times when we see Nemesis, they play a little bit too passively through the early game. You're not going to do all the damage in the early stages, but you can certainly help out, and that's all that he really needed there on that right-hand side for Kana.
For sure, that percent HP reduction on the ultimate can really be huge at any stage of the game. And I'm completely with you. I don't think Nemesis is... Nemesi? Nemesi.
Well,
I don't think Nemesi ganked
you can't
early
have
enough.
multiple Nemesis because...
Nemesis.
Because it's a god, so there can only be one. So technically having multiple doesn't exist. So you don't have to worry about the
But
point.
what about casuals? What about my casuals where there are 2?
No, that's just... You just have one. It's just copied. But it's still just one.
Alright, so one of them is a fake. Is what I'm
Correct,
hearing.
and
Someone's just playing the Morrigan.
No, they can load in as Nemesis, but it's a copy of Nemesis. It's fake, you know what I mean? They're not the same.
Right, okay. Right, okay. I get you. And speaking of getting ya, Emilzy might be getting got over here. Has to break through those vines. Luckily, Joshy coming forward, trying to help him out. Tricks still thirsting in for this kill, though. Could very easily get turned around on. There's the judgment. Sarpei gonna be able to pick up credit for that kill. Joshy's Drums of War doing so much damage, especially in combination with the Terra ultimate. Aggro, that is some scary burst.
I mean, look, Trix had percent protections in lurking in the water, but he got them stripped by the upgraded Sunder from Emilzy and the Nemesis ultimate, and all at the same times, and he's taking percent damage from that Terra ultimate as well. So all of a sudden, you aren't as tanky as you thought you were. A full health ulting Sobek with tank boots should be basically immortal. And for the record, it still took him that long to die because Sobek reasons. It's just too difficult to kill that god most of the time. Pandamonium needed to use everything in order to take him down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate turn of events there for Trix. They think they're going to pick up Emilzy, but get turned around on. Aggro, what do you think to this Terra pick, by the way? I think it's something that we've been seeing a little bit more of recently.
Particularly in the EU SCC, and I think it makes a lot of sense here because the games are not decided quite as early the vast majority of the time. Not to say that they don't make plays on the map early on, but certainly the windows with which they get punished are not quite as big as they seem to be in NA. Most of the times this region is a little bit more calculated and they want to get to the team fighting phase a little bit more, and that's where Terra shines. I mean, her ultimate is still an auto team fight winner more often than not. So if that's going to be the style, if teams are just going to go a little bit later, then I think Terra makes a ton of sense. And Emilzy is a great Terra. We've seen it from him during his SPL career, so we know he's comfortable on this pick. I think it makes total sense that we see Terra in this region. I think she's fantastic if the pace of the game is a little bit slower.
They've already put her to good use as well. 2 kills to 1 at the moment. Pandamonium sitting basically even here, about 300 or so gold in it, Aggro, so there's basically nothing between these two teams. What do you think is like the next step? Is it just going to be farming for the next 20 minutes?
I suppose so. I mean, I don't know. I think that overall I'm very surprised to not see Elysium just jam purple buff pressure after their first blood. They didn't get a chance.
Okay, Trix tank coming in with a blink there. Once again, getting shredded through. The Sunder's going to hit him like a ton of bricks. Down he falls angry. Could be the next target here. Not quite able to leap over the vine walls. And still dashing back into the fight is Sarpei. Up into the sky goes adapting, looking to trade out. And he's going to find him.
No.
He jumps away. Able to find a little bit of healing from that pool, but not going to be enough to save his life. Sarpei able to put him in the ground. A 3-for-1 trade. And if I'm just losing my support in that engagement, I am laughing all the way to the bank.
Oh, I'm feeling real good, but you know who isn't is Joshy, because he's now on the wrong side of the map. Terrorem's rotation will pick him up for free. No way Joshi escaped from that, at least holds the beads in that instance, because Lord knows they wouldn't have saved him. So overall, ends up being a 3 for 2 because of Terram's really good rotation. But as you mentioned, losing Emilzy for one of those kills is definitely not a big deal. And he gets all of his damage and utility off anyways in that fight. Another really good Sunder from him onto Trixtank, who seems to feel like he's going to be immortal in that Lurking in the Waters, as he typically has been, as most Sobek players are whenever they use that ultimate. But Pandamonium clearly coming in with a game plan on how to handle it, and I've really appreciated that.
Pandamonium not choosing to go for the Gold Fury there after picking up those 3 kills. Health bars were a little bit low, so understandable. Rather play it safe than sorry. Still looking to secure a little bit more levels before looking for that objective. More farming across the map, pretty much. No one really wants to fight, I would assume, until until the next dance at Gold Fury starts, which might be around about now. Trixtank looking to catch Emilzy out of position, but the Waystone's going to stop him from getting plucked back in. There's the ultimate coming through, but Emilzy's going to be down at the start of this fight. This time, Angry, target of the Judgment. He's going to fall down to Sarpei in the backline. Mid for support so far, adapting already ult expanded. Raiju is on his back, able to heal up after killing Joshi there in these puddles. Might have been able to get the 1v1 against Streak Up, but Sarpei comes out of the sidelines. 2 for 2 trade.
And they needed him because all of a sudden, Camazotz was healing a ton, even with that anti-heal on Lacerate, still nearly able to turn that around. But how about Sarpei so far, man? 5-0-2, been a part of every single kill for Pandamonium, has put his ult on the right targets every time. He's not just guaranteed ulting Trixtank in order to steal the most protections or make that kill the easiest. He's getting the right players. Trixtank gifting him another one, I suppose. Didn't feel like living in that instance, but overall, love the way that Sarpei is playing, really doing a good job of focusing out Angry in particular. That Baba, I mean, and she uses to that ultimate, it normally gives her a lot of safety because of the big shield that you get and how much damage you're going to be able to return during that CC immune channel. But Nemesis just doesn't care about that damage because of her Retribution shield. She just gets to sit on you, immune some of your damage, in fact, turn it back on you, and just cut you up with the auto attack build that he's going for.
Although I will say, despite being 0-2 and 3 Angry, still sitting about a half a level above his opposition. Joshi really only just dinging 11, and Angry now hitting that level 12 mark, able to go back and pick up that second relic now. Farming a lot better, but is that maybe because Angry hasn't been rotating into these fights as much, maybe?
Possibly. I do think that both mid laners have been pretty active on the rotations. Think that maybe Angry is just doing a better job of getting neutral camps and setting up for these mid harpies with the control that Trixtank is going to be able to provide on the Sobek.
Fair enough on the right-hand side. Kind of getting a little pressured out. Terram is basically just able to do these King Arthur things. We saw a gank from Sarpei at the very start of the game, looking to get Connor ahead, potentially putting Terram behind, but it has not stopped him. Blue buff is going to go the way of Terram as well. Not his own blue buff, but Pandamonium's blue buff, which is now also Terram's blue buff. Trix actually dashed caught out in the middle lane. There's a lot of damage coming out here. Once again, under the water he goes. Drums are going to be good, and with the Thunder Crash, Emilzy is going to get credit for that kill, but Elysium pick up Pyro.
Man, Emilzy is just toying with Trixtank in these fights. I mean, he catches his dash right there, has continually prevented himself from being plucked with the use of that Terra passive, and these Sunders have been on point. They're what's enabling these kills to go through so easily. I think this is the right idea, though, by Pandamonium. You don't really want to take a fight around this Gold Fury because you just use 2 key ultimates and a Sunder, and it's only Trixtank down, and he's already back up as a support. So that's definitely not an easy, guaranteed Gold Fury pull, despite the 4v5.
Something that I've been noticing over the weekend, Aggro, is the move away from mages who can really secure an objective. I know we haven't really seen a lot of games so far this weekend, but I mean, like, Raijin, Baba Yaga, you know, even Chiron, who is kind of this physical ADC mage. They have big damage ultimates, but that come out in pretty long bursts of damage rather than that one big chunk. Why is that? Never mind. Actually, hold on. Might need to grab this Gold Fury first. It's already down. Trix looking to find some damage, but that's going to be the fight.
Well, there you go. Nice and easy. Pandamonium don't need that big secure mage if they're able to create that kind of zone, and did a good job of it. I do think it, you know, there are gods that can be played right now in the meta that just aren't Poseidon comes to mind, but overall, don't think it's impossible to play secure mages. It's just that when gods like Raijin are really good, he's going to get played a lot. He just does so much for you. He doesn't really have any weaknesses outside of that objective secure. And with things like Frenzy in the meta, you don't really need to secure that well if you're just going to try and guarantee control. Pandemonium's composition, for example, is not meant to sneak away Fire Giants. They're meant to pull Elysium into Fire Giants and ask them to fight on that objective because they're so good at fighting in the jungle with their mobility and their ways to cut off escape paths with these Terra walls, and Medusa Petrify is so good in the jungle. Sarpei is able to find better angles in. Pandemonium's draft, yes, it doesn't secure objectives particularly well, but it fights so well around those objectives that I actually think them being able to secure them might have been worse, because then they might not pull Elysium into these little fights.
Might have a little bit less chance to kill them as well. Joshi should be able to pretty much just burst down anyone who they do bait into these engagements, I guess. So that actually makes a lot of sense. Now, speaking of the Fire Giant, Pandemonium looking to group around the right-hand side. Probably just to pick up the Scorpion for now, but certainly not opposed to looking around this direction. Moving back over towards the mid lane. Kana gonna get ulted once again, and that's just the map at the moment.
Yeah, that's all you can really do. I mean, Arthur has such a low cooldown ultimate, that doesn't cost him anything. Theoretically, it deals a little bit of damage to Kana and maybe forces him to use something, but of course, Kana at full HP still has his Gaia proc as well. No real reason for him to play scared at this point.
Absolutely not. It kind of goes for both of the solo laners, right? Terrim and, Arthur and Kakullan both basically have ultimates that don't have cooldowns, right? Especially the Beast form is just as quick as you can get back up into it. So really nothing going to be too lost in the right-hand side.
No, this is a matchup that is much more dependent on how these guys are going to do in team fights at this point. I think you can try and bully out the opposition a little bit, but you need significant jungler intervention in order to really gain a significant lead on that side of the map.
Well, can't do it in the solo lane, so why not try and transition it into the mid lane? Both the solo laners make their rotation, and never mind, as soon as I talked about it, they got stage fright and walked away. Now, ignore me, aggro.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I can just think about what I'm going to have for lunch instead. I think I'm going to make a steak quesadilla. That's what I'm thinking about right now.
That sounds incredible. What are you going to put in your steak quesadilla?
I'm a simple man, Blazy. I'm a cheese and meat in my quesadilla kind of guy. I do like dipping it in salsa occasionally if I'm feeling like a little extra, but you know, grilled peppers and onions, those are good, but it's a lot more work. I'm fine with just the meat and the cheese in the quesadilla.
You're missing out on like all the good parts of a case. Like what makes a quesadilla is like the shell and the cheese and all that. But you got to get the extra flavor in there. You got to get the color, the juices. It's too important. How could you just not?
Very easily, because that's what I do, and I'm happy with where I'm at.
All right,
it's not a problem for me.
I don't know why I asked.
Yeah, that big mistake by you.
that's on me. Pandemonium here, trying to show some presence around the Pyromancer, but of course, now that I've talked about it, they don't want to do it anymore. They've lost interest, and just back to farming aggro. What's going on here?
This is the pace, man. This is how EU SCC often likes to play. They have some players getting closer and closer to those level 20 power spikes, and both teams probably saying that they just want to wait for those moments. Emilzy likely wants to wait until he gets to upgrade his Frenzy, because that's going to help out quite a bit. But Trixtank, since hitting level 12, has picked up upgraded Ankh, and that's a huge deal up against this Terra ultimate. Otherwise, if this thing goes unchecked, it will win a team fight by itself. It's just too simple to end up picking up too much healing, too much extra damage, all those sorts of things that it provides. With that upgraded Ankh, all of a sudden that healing becomes significantly reduced, and that extra defense that everyone gets, that percentage damage taken that goes off, all of a sudden gets neutralized because they're taking more damage from the Ankh proc, even though they're taking less damage after the Terra ult. So it really neutralizes a lot of what makes that ultimate so good. But that being said, it's still good enough that I'm picking Terra, and I'm not worried about once the enemy support hits level 12. Sure, it gets a little bit worse, but it's so good anyways that I think it's still going to make a big impact.
All going to be based on the timing of the ult and the Unk. At the moment, the Fury is going to be the big question mark on the map. Connor, a little far up here, but he's about to transform. Meanwhile, the Oni Fury is still getting done. There's going to be the Retribution onto the Chiron as Trixtank, now the one closest to the rest of the team, is going to get stunned out there by the walls. There is Frenzy, there is an ult. Trixtank tanking it all like an absolute champ machine. He's going to be able to get out just fine there. Pandamonium do secure an Oni Fury. Don't secure an Oni Fury. They probably will go back and grab it now, but use all of their ultimates and get no kills off the back of it.
No kills off the back, and Pandemonium does secure it, but Terram nearly got it. But look at where Adapting was. He wasn't even at that fight. He just pushed out that right-hand side, stole away speed buffs, stole away back harpies. The whole right side of the map went his way, and Elysium didn't really lose that much. I mean, Oni Fury isn't bad at this point in the game when it goes against you because you can just spread out and clear it away. In fact, that fight entirely goes the way of Elysium. Take a look at the gold lead. I mean, they're up 5,000 gold almost in this game, despite not getting any big neutral objectives besides the Pyromancer that they just got, despite not leading in kills, and they haven't really gotten major buff invades over and over again. It's just these little mini experience differentials in mid-camp control and things of that nature that have started to create this lead. 2 levels for Angry, 2 levels for Adapting. And Pandemonium still using their composition strength, still trying to 5v5 because even with a deficit, this composition is good enough that it can win in these 5v5s. But Elysium did a really good job on that Oni Fury fight of not taking the bait. We don't have to care that much about this Oni Fury. Let's just play it a little bit more passively, let Adapting get all this farm, and set ourselves up to get a nice lead.
And farmed away he has, level 19 on the bat. And now Firegiant getting started up by Elysium. Pandemonium trying to make their way into the fight, but Elysium have lost interest. They don't want to take this just yet. Letting Pandemonium come to them is not really the fight that they want to take. I'm assuming that they want to look for a pick first.
Want to look for that pick specifically centered around this Blink Pluck coming from Trixtech. That's the easiest way to create it, but there's not a lot of pressure on purification beads for Elysium's composition. Adapting's not going to make you beads really ever. Neither will Angry. Spudio really won't. It's really just Terrorem that can force them. And if everyone has beads, if Trixtank goes for a Blink Pluck and Streak Up just uses the purification beads, it's going to be upgraded Sunder on his head. It's going to be a Tycho Drums coming his way. And that is not going to be easy for him to live through. Don't think that Joshi has really gone the build that I expected. I don't think Soul Gem is really what helps you kill that Sobek really effectively, if that's the game plan going into these engagements. Certainly very good item on Raijin overall, but I think looking at the way that Elysium's composition is likely going to play out versus the way that Pandemonium's composition is likely going to play out, I think Soul Reaver in that slot would have made a little bit more sense. Just getting that extra damage on tanks specifically would have felt really good. Sure, it doesn't have the CDR, the lifesteal, or the proc that Soul Gem has, and all of those are very, very strong. But I do think that overall, I would have liked to see a little bit more prioritization on tank damage coming from Joshi based on how Elysium is likely to play the fight.
Sure, I mean, the last couple times that Pandemonium tried that same strategy onto Trix Tank with the Sunder and the Terra ult and the drums, he has been able to wiggle his way out, so definitely getting that extra health percent damage would have been big for him, but I'm sure he's not too angry about having the little bit extra survivability now that Adapting is level 20. No protector for him just yet, but it's going to be a dangerous game once he does. Back on the Fire Giant go Elysium. Pandemonium still looking to come in, but look at how quickly, just by committing nothing to that Fire Giant, look how quickly Adapting and Spudio alone can shred through it.
It did not take them long. I mean, only 23 minutes in, so it doesn't have that much HP and protections.
Kana under a little bit of pressure there, gets taken up into the sky and gets hit by an arrow from Spudio, but he'll be just fine for now. Adapting, looking to back and finish up potentially the breastplate. He's going into the spectral armor first before finishing up that protector of the jungle, so it's going to be pretty big for him against the Nemesis, mainly, who's building into this crit so far. Although Streak Up is building into that, I can only assume to be Wind Demon.
Yeah, a little surprised to see Streak Up go Wind Demon. I mean, if you know your Nemesis is going crit, you know they're going to build Spectral. It ends up devaluing your crit a little bit more. A lot of it's for objectives because the non-crit build just takes so much longer to deal Fire Giant damage, but I think I would have preferred to see a chin size there for Streak Up, understanding the build that Sarpé is going for. And Sarpé, I was saying how much I enjoyed how active he was being, how aggressive he was being on the map. He was 6-0-2, finished his rage, and hasn't been in a kill or assist since. There was the one fight around the Oni Fury where they don't get anything at all except for the Fury itself, but no stacks on that rage, even with that fantastic start that he had. It's because Adapting was putting so much pressure on his jungle and just committing to farming that I think it forced Pandamonium's jungler to step off the gas a little bit.
Connor in a bit of trouble here, but he's going to meet up with the support. Emilzy should find him safe, and now the Sunder's coming on onto Streak Up here, who could be in a world of pain. Scratch the could be. Definitely is. Down he falls. Sarpé finally putting the first notch onto his rage, but going to get immediately punished for it. Terim claims credit for that kill, and now the fight continues. Emilzy could be under some trouble, but now up into the sky goes Joshi, but Terim is going to be the one taken down a peg. Bye-bye, King Arthur. 2-for-1 trade here in favor of Pandamonium. They do lose Sarpé, but with Spudio down, they could look to put a little bit of pressure on something.
Yeah, not necessarily a free Fire Giant pull, as no ultimates in their pockets. Makes it a little bit harder. I like this call. Just go for Primal, make it that much easier to go for the next Fire Giant. But Kana just so tanky on this Kakullen that he kind of baits in Spudio, who dashes way too aggressively in order to try and get that kill. That dash was ambitious, to say the least. And Emilzy instantly there with the punish. Sunder, ult, right on top of the Chiron. He gets onked. Sure, I don't care about healing my teammates here. Emilzy was there for blood, and he got it with some help from Sarpé, but Emilzy really just doing work in this game by my estimation. He's looked really, really good since his return to the SCC.
Absolutely, and it's a pleasure to have him back. Of course, this man has been all over the place. He's been a part of the Smite scene, I think, as somebody on the desk highlighted, since basically the Smite scene started existing. Been on some of the most prestigious teams in the league back in the day, and well, I mean, you can definitely show the experience hasn't really gone away just yet. 1-2-7 on the support, making up a decent chunk of Pandamonium's kills, only missing out on 3 here. And yeah, as you said, just a huge impact in a lot of these fights. The timing on that Earth's Blessing has just been so on point every single time. And now that they are finding themselves in a little bit more of a comfortable position, able to pick up the Primal Fury, now finishing up a Pyromancer, potentially looking for another dance around this Fire Giant to try and pick up FG number 1.
I mean, this is still going to be the first true 5-on-5 that we've seen. I don't think Adapting was really there at all for that Oni Fury fight. That ended up being a pretty washed fight overall. So I'm interested to see what's really going to happen at the beginning of this engagement, because I don't think Spudio is just going to use the dash too aggressively this time around. It's going to have to be a little bit of a more difficult engage from Pandamonium based on what they should be expecting from Elysium. Again, who is Elysium's engage from here? It's probably going to be Blink King Arthur, because the Blink Sobek is just suicidal if you get the wrong target. I think that Elysium probably likely has to just counter-engage, but Pandamonium's engage with the Terra ult is really good. That's going to be difficult line to walk.
Pandamonium's counter-engage is almost equally as good with that Terra ult that we've highlighted. More than enough at this point. Kana taking a lot of damage there after the pluck from Trix, but the Thorns should let him be just fine for now. Sarpé in a spot of bother as well, forced to use the beads, but Terim's going to get turned around on, taking a lot of damage from the Petrify. Adapting, forced to take up into the sky. Terim escapes with just a slither of his HP, but Streak Up could be the next one in danger. Going to get hit by the Echo location there. Adapting picks up number 1 for the board. Actually, combination with the Fire Giant and Angry is going to put number 2 down on the board. Bye-bye, Connor. And now Elysium should be able to back and get a lot of pressure on this FG.
Yeah, should be pretty free on this Fire Giant. Just Kana took too much damage off that front end, and he doesn't have those purification beads, so he's really the only target that Trixtank can pluck and not get punished for right away, because of course Emilzy has his passive that he can put down, and Kana just ends up getting shredded by this backline. Angry did a ton of damage in that team fight. His ult was fantastic. He was on point with the potions as well. This Baba has hit that critical mass point where she is difficult to handle. That damage is hard to see coming.
Well, level 20 will do that to a Baba Yaga, and, well, Subpay in a lot of trouble. There's the masterful shot, not even a chance to run away. Goodbye, Nemesis. Fire Giant still getting aggressed on here, falling down super low. Should go down in the next second or two for Elysium here. Well, just got that upgraded. Waited a couple more seconds to pick up the EFG, and now Pandamonium still getting aggressed onto Joshi. Could fall down there, but the beads just enough to save the life of the Raijin this time.
Very close, but good patience there by Spudio. Holds on to the objective, and Emilzy this time, no rock down in order to prevent the pluck from going through. Elysium just really using this veteran experience. Trixtank finding good engagements on the Sobek, and Pandamonium has not been able to get into that backline and answer onto this Baba Yaga effectively.
With two players still down, these Phoenixes should be pretty much free for Elysium. Looks like they're going for the safe bet and just picking up both the birds. But Connor looking to come in for the engage. Makes two people run away from him. Streak Up already expended the ult, though. And all the way back here is my boy Terrorim. Gonna get blown up by the ult from Raijin and Nemesis. But Spudio is gonna be able to find his own kill as well on to Streak Up. Down he falls. Connor running away from the ultimate damage from Baba Yaga. Blinking forward again is Subpay, trying to find a little bit more damage onto Angry, but it looks like Elysium don't really care. They're going for the end, and the damage on the Titan is going to be good enough. It doesn't matter how many players Pandamonium kill. Elysium able to find game one.
And they just got to that late game point where that Baba Yaga was going to be too much to handle. And that's really, you're kind of not on a full clock. You know, it's not like something like a Kali or a Kronos on the other side, but that late game is one of the best in mage class, and I think that you saw it on display on that Fire Giant fight. Sarpade, for my money, took his foot off the gas a little bit too much. Let Adapting invade your right side jungle, kill the duo lane, kill the mid lane. You've got to be a little bit more aggressive when you have that kind of lead.
Maybe lost a little bit of confidence there after the early game, but we'll let the desk talk about the nitty-gritty details about this game. Aggro, we'll be back in just a few minutes after this break.
Having a lot of fun here in the studio today. Maybe more than can be said. Those teams taking their precious time to get to that win. To the point where the way I was trying to figure out a good way to describe it, and the thing I threw to you, Mifflin, was it's like a roller coaster, but it's all flat, and then it just goes downhill to the end. I mean, Elysium, it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, at least from my perspective. They just kind of did the thing and win the game there. And again, this is something that is good for them, being able to one game now from moving forward and potentially finding themselves in the winner's final with a one-game advantage. But this is also a position they've been in before. Pandamonium has beat them 2-1. Now they've got the 1. We'll have to find out if Pandamonium can get the 2.
Wow, honestly, I just really like how you worded that. But let's go ahead and break down the game ever so slightly here, Gore. This is one where Pandamonium has a strategy that is working out. They're finding kills in the early game, but they were not able to transition it at any point into a further lead. We talked about it earlier, a little nod to Tom. The stuff after the stuff almost was never done by Pandamonium, whereas Elysium said, okay, their draft, their team fight's really strong. Well, what if we just make it to late game with an advantage? What if we just wait it out a little bit? What if we just farm better for the next 15, 20 minutes, and that's exactly what they did. They waited it out, they controlled the mid camps, they got the neutral objectives, and eventually, when it did come to that time where they were willing to take the 5-on-5 team fight, well, Elysium came into it with an 9,000 gold lead.
And I got to give them credit, though. I mean, you can see Pandamonium put up 11 kills. I know 6-0 for a long time there for Sarpei. I said coming into this, like, Sarpei's got to have a good game.
He did.
Sarpei had a good game. It just didn't work out for him because Elysium, as a whole, had a better one. The Baba Yaga gets the dub here this time around as well, so it feels better there. And realistically, like, again, this wasn't one that really had a lot of moments until the end. They walk up to the Phoenix, they take down the Phoenix, the Fire Giant feels good for them, and they just kind of decide to do it. 1-for-2 trade. And sometimes I guess that's all you need, Mifflin. If the Titan's there, it goes to show that you don't have to worry about the team fight. You can just kill the thing.
Yeah, that late into the game, when you've got that many people with Fire Giant around it, it's going to shred incredibly quickly. Man. Any match that goes as long as that one did is always going to be decided by the very last engagement. So I don't think Pandamonium has to feel too bad about their draft. They don't need to feel too bad about their early game. Maybe that mid game where you're able to get some Gold Furies maybe next time around. Pyromancer's just something to keep you afloat, to give you that advantage. That's what they need to look at. It's the play on field that needs some slight adjustments because the strategies, the composition, it was all there.
Not often does your jungler go 7-2-4 and is on the losing team there.
Yikes.
Really good slash line for Sarpei, something that I'm sure they hope to repeat in game number 2. And for Pandamonium, they hope to repeat, like you said, some of the good in that one without all of the loss of that one that comes through. Like you said, focusing on some of the Harpies in the mid game, maybe focusing on getting a Fire Giant. When you are in this position, you're still in the winners. I'd honestly say that this is a good chance to threaten, like start some fights for the sake of it, just to see what you can do. But now we'll have to figure out the first fight for every competitive game. The picks and bans as they come through. Pandamonium over here on the left-hand side. And immediately, Giannis off the table.
Yeah, don't want to deal with that one. Too many portals, too much utility, too much damage as well. So Pandemonium going to go ahead and take one from the SPL's book and say, hey, what if we just don't allow that one to get played at all? Elysium going to go ahead and ban out that Ymir, completely targeted towards Pandemonium support. Emilzi's been having an absolute tear on this pick. Might as well not have him at his best, but still, as the ban phase rolls on, just adaptation after adaptation. I said that they didn't need to worry too much about their draft, but that doesn't mean that they can't improve it.
And they ban out the Sobek Terra here, right? The Elysium Sobek felt really good. The Terra for Pandemonium, maybe not so much. And so trying to shift things around in their favor. Being first pick, they get to opt into this first pick Chiron that we saw Elysium go for there in game number 1. And this has been a really big, I want to say, pivot overall for Pandemonium. How the response comes through, some of the gods that were banned now being available, things like the Soul being in this game, changes the dynamic.
It does, and I was going to say, if they don't go towards the Fafnir, there's no way they're going to be allowed to take that pick. When you pick Soul in your first slot, you're almost essentially saying, look, we're going for the Fafnir. We need it. The Double Hunter composition, Double Hunter air quotes as one of them, is magical, but it essentially works the same. That Coerce is just a great tool to make sure that everything that you're doing gets done a little bit faster, be it killing gods, be it killing objectives, towers, whatever it needs to be, can happen expeditiously, but Pandemonium That's a pretty nice draft. Gilgamesh, Chiron, and Yamoja coming through. That's one of the best dual lanes you can get here in Season 8. And Gilgamesh is just phenomenal no matter where you put him, but more than likely going to be going to the jungle.
And the friendly reminder that I guess bear bones are super brittle. Our friend here, I don't know if this bear has a name. I looked at Nathan for that to see a name. I don't know why. I was like, hey, you give me the answer.
He's going to
Tell
say
me something's
Barry.
going to be able to come through. Cullen comes in, though, with Fafnir, with Salt. Barry is actually not a bad name.
No,
That's
it is.
It's
pretty bad.
But that's funny to me,
Oh,
at least.
I'm
That
glad
gives
you
me
like
a
it.
lot of joy in my heart. All the top threes for this team's really looking good. The band's going to be coming through. Sun Wukong Cthulhu band out here by Elysium. It's going to be the Jingwei and the Heimdall on the other side. And now you're looking at it, I mean, still banning out specifically the Jingwei, the Heimdall, kind of indicates that they think Elysium are going for, as you said, the double hunter that's going to be locked in. And guess what? They still get to scoop up and on her.
Yeah, it's interesting that they elect to ban out that Heimdall. I don't really associate that pick with Elysium's hunter. That Jingwei makes perfect sense. That's something Spudio absolutely loves. But now you've essentially said, all right, we'll take a more aggressive pick. We'll give them the on her. And with this draft and how it's going to work out, you really want Pandemonium's dual lane to get off to a hot start. On her is one of the few gods that can fight in relatively easily. That Desert Fury can be used not only to fight enemy gods, but if you're worried about Chiron's early game aggression, you can clear wave from halfway across the lane. There's a lot of tools available to him. And now Elysium rounding out the draft with the Fenrir going into the jungle in the hands of Adapt King. That is a fair deal of CC, as well as just this pick has been doing incredibly well in Season 8 as a whole. Many teams picking him up, not just for jungle, but also into the support. It's just a free kill. If someone doesn't have beads, they're just dead.
Well, for a while there, Spudio has, well, actually kind of made almost any hunter, I feel like, a must-ban against them, and so it kind of makes sense they end up on the honor here, someone that has been nerfed, like you had mentioned a little earlier, recently, but maybe not so much that he deserves to completely fall out of the meta. But look at the top four for Pandamonium. I mean, from Raijin, the Yamoja, the Gilgamesh, the Chiron that comes through, all of those feel so good. And look, I'm going to throw out one name for you when it comes to tier. Julio came from the EU SCC, played in this kind of setting a lot of the time. I think that is a scary pick to have on this team. I like Pandemonium's draft a lot more.
I like this Pandemonium draft through and through, man. It should play to their strengths. They want to fight around the early game. That's where their best part was in Game 1. Well, they've only made the early game that much stronger. Gilgamesh should be able to bring that pressure into the jungle as well. Wings of Shamash going to be a good tool to utilize just space control around these objectives. If Pandemonium was struggling in finding neutrals, well, all of a sudden their neutral ability is a lot higher, but they do have to worry about Elysium's ability to burn these objectives, and Elysium has shown a very willing style to just wait it out and go for golds.
Well, the question is, can Pandemonium push us to game number 3, or will they make like a bear and break? Let's find out here in game number 2.
Here's hoping that they can. Pandemonium have a fantastic lineup to be able to do just that. My money is on the blue team at the moment. I think if Pandemonium can take Elysium to a game 3 on any composition, it's this one right here, right now. Of course, it's me, BlazyBard, and Aggro back here on the caster desk, pulling us into game number 2. Aggro, what are your thoughts?
I like Pandemonium's draft quite a bit. I'm with you that it has a lot of great aspects to it. I love the pressure on purification beads. I love their team fight capability. I think that they scrap well in the early to mid. I just want to see them have a bit of a better mentality going into this game. I mean, I think they had opportunities to push their leads a little bit better and didn't really do that. Whereas Elysium, their composition will punish you for letting them get to late game. Between the Soul and the Fafnir, they will do objectives faster than Pandemonium can really handle.
It's going to be a dangerous one for them. That's absolutely for sure. Angry looking to pull a pretty prime from yesterday, and solo Joshi straight off the bat. Not going to be able to find it just yet, but Joshi already sat below half HP. No innate healing in Raijin's kit like there is for Sol. Adapting with a big wraparound here. Getting a fair amount of damage onto Sarpei. Sarpei doesn't really have a lot of places to go, but the Thunder Crash is going to be good to stop out Adapting. Angry still here trying to find the kill. The blink back from Adapting is going to secure number 1 on the board for Angry. 1-0 in favor of Elysium.
And if we wanted Sarpei to be a little bit more aggressive, then him falling early probably isn't the right recipe for that to happen. But Adapting knows that that's a good fight for them. I mean, Soul is so much better at level 2 than something like the Raijin because of that passive, because of the heat. You just end up being in a much better position to scrap. And of course, Fenrir are very good at that point in the game. So good identification of a good fight there from Elysium.
Streak up once again, taking a little bit of damage, but this time there's no Chiron for him to worry about. Spudio, though, not making a similar mistake to his counterpart this game. Not going to get surprise dashed by Streak Up, but the Riptide looking to pull Spudio back into the engagement. Not really going to find anything. I think we're in for another long one here, Aggro.
Very possible. I mean, it is EU SCC that does happen a lot of the time. They like to take it to the mid to late game quite often, but never know. I mean, Elysium's one of those teams that can put their foot on the gas pedal really effectively. They can win these games in the early stages. We've seen them do it against very good teams in the past, and especially when Adapting and Angry get a lead like this, you'd like to see them try and leverage it pretty well.
I mean, hey, yesterday we saw them take, what was it, 16 or 18-minute Phoenix? Either way, it's impressive, but You're absolutely right. They can up the pace if they would like to, and well, I mean, Adapting's on a pretty good guard to really take that early game aggression. Fenrir, Fenrir is just good, right, in general, but early game he can do some serious damage.
Yes, very, very easy for him to move around the map and get kills or set up for his teammates getting kills. That's really what he brings to the table, is that versatility as a pick, because you don't need to get the kill yourself. You can force enemy teams to play a little bit differently. I mean, take a look at Emilzi's Relic choice and Kana's Relic choice for that matter. You see 5 sets of beads. That's not because they like the color blue. It's because Fenrir is really good at killing you if you don't have them.
Do they, like, not... Oh, my God, hold on. Adapting beautifully red there. Joshi leaps straight into the Unchained stun and now blinking back forward. Beats already used. Joshi going to take a spill already. Jumping out of the winds of Shamesh is Adapting, but he's going to get drop kicked. Not far enough, though. No wall for him. Meanwhile, Trickstank coming around the corner does get the stun onto Sarpe, which is going to force the beads out. But what a beautiful play from Adapting.
Just twice in a row. I mean, the read there in order to get the jump and of course the beads off the ultimate, but then to go back in with the Seething Howl and Blink combination and really put the pressure on was really impressive. I'm very impressed with Adapting's start to this game, and that's exactly what you want this Fenrir to do. Be aggressive, end up taking fights that you know you can win, and now Sarpe and Joshi neither have purification beads, and that's a huge deal for Sarpe in particular because, of course, he has no CC immunity built into the kit. So it could be difficult for Pandamonium to be aggressive in the mid 3v3 anytime soon. They've got to wait until those beads are back up.
And I think it's almost scarier for the fact that Elysium, both of the kills that Adapting has set up in the mid lane here have gone the way of Angry, who, I mean, we talked literally not 5 minutes ago, Aggro, about how terrifying a Soul can be in the late game, and she's already 2 levels above Joshi.
Yep, already in a very good spot. And once you start to get this lead on Soul, you can sit in the mid lane a little bit longer, you know, force a rotation to a side lane for the enemy mid laner. All of a sudden their tower's gone, or all of a sudden the Gold Fury is gone. You can put a lot of pressure on objectives very well with this pick. And as soon as Angry finishes off that Spear of the Magus, I assume that'll be a second item. You're in a position where you just can't really take a fight around that Soul anymore, at least until Joshi gets some more damage online.
Gonna be dangerous for sure. Trickstank, once again, he's getting aggressed on a little bit at any given opportunity, but definitely gonna be harder for Pandamonium to burst down the tank without the Nemesis, without the Terror. Sunder is still available. Scratch that, never mind. I'm colorblind, apparently. You even said about there being all beads, but no Sunder available for Pandemonium either. Joshi, holy moly, bye-bye Raijin. Angry, yeah, I think Angry's reached the point of critical mass, Aggro. I think that's it.
Oh, I don't think, I mean, that can't be it, because he's still got 5 items to go from here. Streak Up isn't going to have anywhere to go. He ends up falling to Adapting, and Elysium really starting to put the pressure on Pandemonium.
Trying to invade the red buff is Trix Tank, and Angry's right around the corner. Sunder already expended that to try and get a little bit of extra poke damage. It's not upgraded, but Emilzy caught in a bad spot here. The waves are going to be good, and the winds of Shemesh are going to keep everyone nice and tight inside of them. Trix Tank transforming back into the dwarf form right here, right now. Sarpe and Emilzy are both so low. Trix Tank also in a pretty bad spot. No mana, but just enough for a hammer to stop the advance from Connor there. Trix gets out just fine. Elysium, I believe, walk away with that red buff and a Scorpion to boot.
Man, 3,000 gold in 7 minutes is a massive lead. 2,500, I suppose. But either way, still a very significant lead already for this Elysium squad. And they've got a lot of gold to spend, too. I mean, Angry still hasn't backed since getting off to his fantastic start. He should be sitting on full Spear of the Magus from here easily at 2,100. So he's going to be able to really start to get that item finished off. 2,100 for Terrorem, nearly 2K for adapting. I mean, there is a lot of gold in hand. So Elysium, as strong as they are right now, they're actually technically behind if you do the math on the gold that they've spent in comparison to the gold that Pandamonium has spent until right now. Back, finish a full Brawler's Beatstick and a full Spear of the Magus there for adapting and Angry, respectively. And now that lead will really start to materialize. Elysium can now be aggressive anywhere they want to be as long as both Angry and Adapting are there.
Yeah, it's going to be potentially a slippery slope here for Pandamonium. Already 8 minutes in, looking about 3,000 gold behind. Emilzy under some duress here on the left-hand side. Adapting, just chewing him up a little bit, but he got told off, and he's going to put it down, spit it out, and potentially look back towards the Gold Fury here. Oracles are, of course, going to be the first port of call, but I wouldn't really put it past Elysium to be able to pick up this Fury if there's even the slightest bit of opportunity for them to do so, given how quickly, between Angry and Spudio and Coerce, they could probably bust it down.
Yeah, I just think that in this sort of position, you should be able to just walk over and do it. I mean, who cares if they know? You've got all the tools in the world in order to be the ones who can just walk over and kill it. And that's where I want to see Elysium go. Don't give too much respect to Pandamonium right now. They are in a position where they cannot contest you in this game. Be aggressive. Don't let them off the hook by going for just mid-camp control. Yes, that's good, but group up, use the Fafnir Coerce, use this lead that Angry and Adapting have. No reason to let Pandamonium stall out this game, because Elysium should be heavily favored in any fight where they've got their strong members around. If Pandamonium show up to fight us on the Gold Fury, that's great. We want that. That's best case scenario. I think I'm very surprised that we haven't seen them play aggressively around it yet.
Well, I mean, there is some aggression coming over towards the purple buff. Trix Tank and Spudio here looking to steal it away, but Sarpe, the one making the rotation here. Angry is on his way over, but Trix could be in a spot above her here. Jumps in to the Winds of Shemesh, forced up into the Draconic form, and Angry comes around the corner, jumping forward, finding the stun to Sarpe. Where's the follow-up, Trix? Where was the spit? Where did it go? Sarpe limps away with barely a scratch left of HP.
Man, he shot it towards Streak Up. He thought that Sarpe was just dead, but he wasn't. Definitely a huge misplay there by Trix Tank that would have guaranteed this Gold Fury. I think it should still be guaranteed pretty much because of Angry and Adapting's presence, but certainly a mistake there from Elysium's support.
Could have been a little bit more. Emilzy trying to come in for potential steal, but he could very much be punished for it. Pops those beads to get away from the Ragnarok there. Adapting ult down, but beads down on Emilzy. That's a very tempting offer for in about 90 seconds time when he can pluck him back yet again.
Certainly now for Adapting, you've got options because you've got your blink up and ready, and Sarpe doesn't have his beads for about a minute and a half. And over 2 minutes now for Emilzy. So, and this is what Fenrir compositions really do. They get leads, and you start thinking, okay, where do we, as the team that's behind, where are we going to play aggressively? Where are we going to be able to defend our buffs or maybe even invade on the enemy buffs? Well, I can't now because my beads are down for 2 minutes. Okay, we'll wait until that happens. And then right as those beads are coming up, Adapting will get a different set of beads. And all of a sudden, okay, now we got to wait for this set of beads in order to be able to play up. It's a really difficult loop to pull yourself out of.
Emil Z once again in some trouble alongside his solo laner. This time might not be able to get away from it. No beads available. He's going to get taken down into the ground by Adapting, coming back for revenge. Can't feeds my ult without paying for it, says the king. Blue buff should be, well, contested here. Again, Terrorim just trying to do a pretty good job of zoning out while the rest of Elysium go and pick up this Pyromancer. Sarpé steps a little too far forward, and Adapting's going to be right there to haunt him about it. Pyromancer falls the way of Elysium, and this is looking a little runaway here, Aggro, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I like the way Elysium's been playing so far. It's not sitting around and waiting for those moments. It's doing stuff like this. It just, I've got a lead. I'll jump into the tower. I'll be in there. No reason not to when you're playing something like the Fenrir. And this is where I think that teams in this region, they sometimes get caught off guard by how offensive Elysium will be in the early stages of the game, because they are used to farming out until the mid to late game a lot of the time.
Mealsy takes a spill alongside his mid laner there in the mid lane. Sarpé is going to follow him down too. Jumping away with the Lawbringer is Connor, only just escaping with his life. Half health there. If he had stayed, I know it says that Connor had half health there, but if he had stayed in that situation for another second and a half, he was dead. Right? Dead to rights.
Yep, plenty of damage in Elysium's pocket right now. They're up by 7,000 gold in 13 minutes. I mean, they've been getting more than 500 gold in the lead per minute so far in this game. That's an insane rate at this stage of the game. And Pandamonium's team fight is still good. You know, they still, once they group as 5, have things going for them, but not at this rate. I mean, they have to try and keep... They can't fall further behind for the next 15, you know, maybe 12 minutes if they want to try and win this game. So you've got to stabilize the ship for a pretty considerable amount of time, and something tells me Elysium's not super interested in letting them do that.
For sure. It's like Pandamonium do have a fantastic team fight, but at this point in the game, from playing so far behind, it's almost like Elysium have an extra member on their team. It's nearly like you're in a 5v6 situation. You got a whole man made of money. Pandamonium just really gonna struggle. Connor, once again, in some trouble getting re-aggressed onto here. I'm not even sure. Actually, scratch that. Trix is here with the Coerce. There's the Sunder. Goodbye. It doesn't matter that you're a tier. You're not tanky enough to overcome a Sunder there, my friend. Tier 1 tower should fall down here. And Elysium, as you said, not letting Pandamonium stabilize their lead.
Love the way they've been playing so far. Not giving Pandamonium room to breathe. Playing aggressively around objectives, around these dives. It's what you should be doing when you've got a lead like this. And Elysium have the veterans in order to keep that pace high. They're keeping the tempo in their favor and not letting Pandamonium set their feet and think about, all right, here's where we should defend, or here's where we could maybe trade some objectives. No thought going through their mind right now like that.
Fire Giant head empty Fire Giant only, please. That is that's basically Elysium's primary drive right now. This Fire Giant should be absolutely free. No one even on the radar here from Pandamonium. Down it goes. Last game we saw the first Fire Giant was an enhanced Fire Giant. This time around 15.5 minutes in, Spudio gonna trade his life for it on the left-hand side. Pandamonium finally able to find something. And that it's a pretty big pickup to get, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. You take that Fire Giant off of Spudio. That matters a lot. And it gives Streak up a small window in order to get some extra gold in his pocket. Like that play quite a bit as Streak up does end up getting the back off. I wonder if Terem would have used Vent Anger for that movement speed, if he would have been able to get there in time. But either way, it would have been close. Streak is able to get back to base and complete the back. And it's not all of a sudden sunshine and rainbows for Pandamonium. They're still in dire straits in this game,
10K.
but I can appreciate their willingness to still try and be a little bit proactive on the map.
For sure. It's a Okay, well, we're in a very bad situation. The ship has taken on water. We're gonna sink soon. How can we try and find something? And this is another example of that. Angry gonna pay for being even just a little bit too far up in mid. The ultimate from Emilzy cuts him off from any sort of escape route. And that, I mean, both the ADCs from Elysium, the most important Fire Giant pickups are gone. That is huge.
Yep. Best thing Pandamonium could have done. I mean, if you want to talk about the two players they could have killed, they would have picked those. That would have been huge for them, and it is huge because there's still a lot of gold on the map for Elysium to get. That's 3,500 gold in towers that they can theoretically just waltz up and take whenever they so please. And don't get me wrong, they can still waltz up and take it basically whenever they please, even without Angry having Fire Giant. But maybe this makes Elysium reconsider trying to take these towers or slows them down. That's all you can ask at this point.
I want to point out, I think from killing Angry, Pandamonium went up by like 1.5 grand.
Yeah, I bet. He had a huge shutdown on his head. I mean,
yeah, like, can we have, I bet you we could see it on the graph.
Yeah, probably. Just a quick little jump up, I'm sure, from killing Angry in that mid lane. Yeah, there it is. Little jump up. And right back down, of course, because Elysium creeps up, but that's how it is sometimes.
That's terrifying. Angry on his way back into the fight now. That death maybe wasn't what he was hoping for, but he is able to pick up that tier 2 ring to help him start shredding through this tower. Only 3 people here to defend the tier 2. Scratch that. Joshi has made his way over to try and join the fight. Elysium just dip their toe into the tier 2 radius and take out about 1/3 of the tower's HP. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, adapting, able to pick up about half of the mid tower, but the fight's raging on the left-hand side now. Emilzy, the first one to fall low, but he's going to be just fine for now. It's in fact going to be Trix Tank, the one to fall. Terum isn't going to let that trade go for nothing, though. Emilzy is going to find his spill, and Sarpei will also trade his life in this jungle here now, pushing towards the Phoenix. Terum taking a little bit of damage, getting taunted into the Phoenix, is Angry, but the health bars on Pandamonium are very low, too low for them to adequately defend this Phoenix, already falling down to about half HP. Elysium, though, choosing potentially to take the safe route. Scratch that. They want to come straight back in and try once again for this Phoenix. Angry and Spudio shredding it down. Pandamonium, not a thing they can do.
And that's without Fire Giant for Angry and Spudio. So imagine what happens in like 3 minutes from now whenever Elysium's knocking on the Phoenix door with Fire Giant on their carries, ideally this time around. Pandamonium, probably the right play to be aggressive there. I mean, you're just not winning that many fights from this position. You know, every fight is 5% chance to win or lower. It's just a matter of, do we want to get the 5% chance to win or the 4% chance? And it's trying to maximize your percentage points. And I've got no problem going for the last-ditch effort on that tier 2. You don't lose the game off of it. You only lose the tier 2. Sarpei nearly wins his 1v1 up against Adapting, but Kenneth obviously able to pull that one out because of his advantage in the item and XP department. If you're Pandamonium now, I don't think you defend Fire Giant. I think you just push out left, try and get streak up some farm, and hope that the fight around your next Phoenix goes better.
For sure, and I don't know if you've noticed, Aggro, but it's been such a heavily aggressive game from Elysium. They've been going so fast. I didn't even notice that is their second pre-20-minute Phoenix of the weekend. And now Adapting, looking to punish Pandamonium for pushing up on this left-hand side as the ultimate, so he's going to be just fine running away, but does force both of the ultimates from the carries, Joshi and Streak Up, nothing, even if they wanted to try and defend this Fire Giant. Are going to be able to pick up that tier 2, though, but Elysium, well, Fire Giant is melting super quickly.
Yeah, that's gone. Adapting, playing with fire a little bit by still being here, but he's got Blink, so shouldn't be too scared. I like the idea from Pandamonium, but it's far too late, man. I mean, they're going to be backing. Yeah, and now Adapting might be able to just stop some backs, and he does not, just short of being able to stop those backs. That was, I like the idea, but certainly a little bit late on the execution. Try and go for that Phoenix.
I think they got distracted a little bit there by Adapting. They were like, "Oh, we can kill Adapting," but really, the play should have been to just go straight for that Phoenix. But I mean, No harm, no foul. Nobody died for it. Nobody was caught out. They still have a full 5-man here on the Phoenix defense. And Aggro, what's the play here for Pandamonium? What can they do?
You have to hope that Emilzy hits a really fat ultimate on the Phoenix. That's your best
That
call.
with a PH.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't. Do people still say it with a PH anymore in the year 2021? I feel like that's
Who
years
knows?
ago at this point. But either way, it's got to be a really, really good ultimate that you have to hit on your Phoenix line. And Angry doesn't have a great way out of it. That disapparate takes a long time. If you can just zone away that damage from the Phoenix, it'll make a big difference. Emilzy's got to try and get to one of these edges, hug that wall on the left just like this, and then try and cut off Angry's escape path.
Well, it's all down to this next fight. Can Pandamonium hold, or will Elysium break the base and claim game number 2? It's going to be all on Emilzy, as Aggro said, and here they come. Elysium looking to push in. Emilzy's already been stunned out, and they've been able to push their way into the Phoenix. Now looking to get over towards the other side is Emilzy. Phoenix falls down to half HP, but not quite taking down the bird just yet. Elysium gonna wait for another wave.
Still, it only takes a little bit of these pokes in. I mean, you see how much damage that Phoenix took in that amount of time, and that's without Trick's tank really even transforming and using that AoE coerce that's a little bit stronger.
Upay in the mid lane could be in some trouble, but able to find a return there onto adapting, so he'll be just fine. Right Phoenix looking pretty dire. The left Phoenix has just gone down to the minions. 3-man knock up there from Terram to open up the fight. Down goes the bird, and now it's pretty scattered here from Pandamonium. Down falls Connor right at the start of the fight, and now there is only one Phoenix standing. Elysium not wanting to push their luck. They're going to wait and pick up the third bird before they push onto the Titan. Emilzy nearly just dies out of nowhere, puts up the walls, and Joshi is able to find some sort of return, but it might be too little, too late. The Titan is already exposed, half health already. The damage is coming through from Pandemonium. They're trying to save it, but it's not enough. Elysium pick up the 2-0 and secure their place in the next round.
Hey, I thought that one might go a little bit later. You were asking me, but when the Fenrir Soul gets off to that sort of start, Elysium are not going to sit around and let Pandemonium get back in it. They know that they've got that game in the bags of their hands. Easy win for them in this game, and it's really just centered around that mid 2v2. When they can get a lead like that, this Elysium team looks unstoppable.
Absolutely. And, well, Aggro, there's a lot to break down in that game, a lot that Pandemonium can learn going into the losers bracket later on in this tournament. So we'll have to go back to the desk. And as a quick note from production to everyone asking, this is an Eldridge knot. I know it's a weird statement, but there you go. Ladies and gents, stay right where you are, because we'll be back for not game 3, but for the breakdown of game number 2 here in a couple minutes.
Well, Elysium do it here, and a lot more convincing than they had to go through yesterday. Game number 1, couple of bibs and bobs, bumps in the road, if you will, before they get to that W. And then game number 2, Pandamonium who? I mean, they just weren't there, at least as far as I could tell. Elysium running the show pretty much from the get-go and seemed to control it. I think, Mifflin, you had said same verse. Or no,
second
verse, same as the first. You know, the popular thing in every song, and how could I possibly have forgotten that of all things? That anyway, and yeah, they did it just a little bit faster that time.
Man, they got double A'd, man. Angry and Adapting do it together. They Voltron up and say, sometimes in a team-based game, individual plays don't matter, and sometimes 2 people can beat 5 on their own, and that's exactly what happens this time around. The Soul gets off to a roaring start, Adapting as well, and it really never felt like at any point did Pandamonium really have any control on this one.
All right, so Rach, here's your next meme. I'm giving you. I've got a lot
New
this
community
weekend
manager
that comes through. Yeah, just coming up as well, so she gets to control it all. Avrin, if you're still watching for whatever reason, you can try to throw this one out there.
Get out of here.
Double A battery, positive. The plus on one side, Adapting's face. The minus on the other side, Angry's face. Boom, content, easy peasy. I mean, like you said,
You getting paid for that?
it is exactly what they needed. I like sending Avrin meme ideas. It's gonna be weird to transition that over to Rach, but it's gonna be something that I think we're all gonna be able to do. And she's going to have to deal with me now, and that's definitely going to be more problematic than I think she knows. But, I mean, this one was clean. Look, it's 8-0 at this point in the game. It was exactly what they wanted. Finally, Pandamonium are able to put up some kills eventually, but they weren't able to really amount to much. By the time they're putting kills on the board, they're 9,000 gold down.
And the majority of their kills came after that initial fire giant that Elysium got at 15 minutes, by the way, and they just didn't group up. Some people got picked out 1 versus 4, and then Elysium grouped up. And without Fire John and a couple members, we're still able to siege so many towers. Siege Phoenixes, find kills inside of the team fight. It just really, this one slipped away from Pandamonium.
Yeah, done and dusted. Elysium now being able to go forward, guarantee themselves now a top 2 finish. So, if you're wondering what this means, first off, Pandamonium, they still have a little bit of a path. I'll jump into that in just a little bit. But Elysium, they have a 1-game advantage in the best-of-5 finals. So one more set, and they win it. And yeah, they only have to win 2 at this point to be able to make sure they guarantee themselves a win. There will be more to break that down. But they also guarantee themselves top 2, and as we were alluding to at the beginning of this set, that's a 10 grand difference. They have a minimum of $10,000 more than whatever we saw accounting department get, as well as what we'll see this 3rd place team get starting at the very beginning of tomorrow, because as you may know, that is going to be the sunset on Europe for today. North America going to be coming up, but this is going to be the point where Europe, nice little bow until we get into tomorrow's matches. Pandamonium taking on Snake Hunters, the last unique matchup that there will be for the bracket. Winner of that has to go up against Elysium again.
Good luck.
Neither of them have had that success so far.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like much of a prize, does it? Oh, yay, we beat our opposition. Now we get to go play against Adapting and Angry and Trickstank. Oh, boy.
But it's another $10,000 set for him.
Hey!
Whoever wins that gets him, is guaranteed a minimum of more money, so they'll be happy at least having that one for you. Again, tomorrow at 11 a.m., Europe will be kicking us off with Pandamonium and Snake Hunters. Elysium awaiting the winner of that one before they go forward. And you might be wondering, what? It's Saturday. There's still so much day to have. It's only 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you're in Europe, it's like 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m., depending on where you are. There's so much more to the day, and I've got good news for you. There is so much more to the day.
God.
It's just that there's North America that's going to be coming up. Same thing we did for Europe just now. We're just going to wash, rinse, repeat, and move forward, watching some of these teams that have been going forward with it. I think notably yesterday, the one that was the most surprising was seeing the Herculean Hoofs find not just a victory, but what seemed like a very easy victory for them.
A very convincing one. If you guys are wondering why we didn't have as many North American matches yesterday, Winter Dogs actually got eliminated on forfeit.
Oh, yeah.
So they got to run down through this loser's bracket. Pretty excited to see them come up against the Tijuana de Tiburones, or maybe it's the other way. I don't know. The Attack of the Sharks, or someone who can speak Spanish actually correct me in the chat. But either way, I shouldn't hold us up, Gore. Do your thing.
I thought it was just the Tijuana Sharks. Either way, we'll get to that. There's more of that coming forward. It'll be the first look, surprisingly enough, at Winter Dogs this weekend. That'll be right after this break. So we'll be right back. Get your snacks. And North America is coming up next.
Woo!